If you have ADHD, you've probably spent a lot of your life trying to fix yourself, maybe without even knowing it. Trying to be more consistent, trying to procrastinate less, trying to be less emotional, trying not to miss details, trying to just focus, perhaps masking with things like perfectionism, people-pleasing, and high achievement. And I want to talk about something that might feel almost uncomfortable. What if the edge you're missing isn't more discipline? It's awareness. A study just came out in late 2025 that looked at adults with and without ADHD and examined something that we don't talk about enough: psychological strengths. Not symptoms, not deficits, not impairments, strengths. And what they found was really interesting. Adults with ADHD endorsed certain strengths more strongly than non-ADHD adults. Things like hyperfocus, creativity, humor, imagination, spontaneity, and seeing opportunities. But here's the part that really stood out to me. Across both groups, ADHD and non-ADHD, simply having greater awareness of your personal strengths was associated with better well-being and better quality of life. Now, this was correlational, not proof of cause, but the pattern was consistent, even more consistently than using these strengths. Just knowing you have the strengths, that's the edge. And I want to unpack why that matters, especially for high-achieving ADHD women, because in a neurotypical world, ADHD challenges are loud. The missed deadlines are so loud. The procrastination is loud. The emotional intensity is loud. The burnout is loud. The shame is loud. The strengths, they're often quiet or misnamed or completely invisible. For most of my life, I didn't think of hyperfocus as a strength. I didn't even know I had it. In grad school, in my late 20s, I started noticing that when I was interested in something, I could go deep, really deep. At first, I didn't realize this was hyperfocus. I actually just thought I was just being obsessive. And I was very aware of my procrastination starting in high school. I would wait until the last minute to write 10 and even 20-page papers. And my parents, while loving, were not even a little bit subtle about their opinions on the matter. There was yelling, there was criticism, there was a lot of shame. So the narrative became, I'm doing it wrong. I'm not as smart as everyone thinks I am. And even, I'm bad. What I didn't see was that I could sit down under pressure and write something deeply analytical, structured, and thoughtful in one stretch. Hyperfocus was there. It just didn't look neat. Pattern recognition was also there. I have a degree in math. Later, I was an actuary. At the time, I didn't think, oh, I'm good at seeing patterns, like it was some strength. I just thought, I'm good at math. It wasn't until I'd been a therapist for a while that I realized something. Therapy is math with heart. It's recognizing patterns in behavior, relationships, trauma responses, and then helping someone shift those patterns, but with compassion and curiosity instead of numbers. I didn't gain a new strength when I became a therapist. I noticed one that had been there all along. And when I started seeing hyperfocus and pattern recognition as strengths, not character flaws or quirks or nerdiness, something shifted. My self-talk softened. Instead of, why can't I just be consistent? It became, that wasn't my first choice of how that would have gone. And then eventually, how can I design around how my brain works? That shift matters more than we think, because when your internal narrative changes, your nervous system changes. Shame activates threat. When you believe you are fundamentally flawed, your body responds like it's under attack, and that exacerbates ADHD, making it even harder to focus and get stuff done. But when you begin to recognize that you have real, usable strengths, even if they coexist with challenges, your system settles. Not perfectly, but enough. And that settling creates more energy, more flexibility, more access, and yes, often more sustainable productivity. Now, I want to be clear. This isn't some ADHD superpower speech. ADHD comes with real challenges. And the same study that found strengths also showed that adults with ADHD reported lower overall well-being and more mental health symptoms than non-ADHD adults. So this isn't about denial. It's about balance. Over and above their outside achievements, most ADHD women struggle to recognize strengths, not because they don't have them, but because the noise of the challenges drowns them out. When you're constantly trying to keep up in a system not designed for your brain, your focus is on survival and holding it all together. And you're looking at what's not working. You're masking. You're comparing yourself to neurotypical standards. After years of criticism, external and internal, going looking for strengths can feel almost absurd. Like, why would you go looking for gold in what feels like a pile of crap? I get that. But here's what the research suggests. Simply by becoming more aware of your strengths, naming them, recognizing them, was associated with better well-being and quality of life, even for adults with ADHD. You don't have to overhaul your life. You don't have to suddenly use these strengths perfectly. Awareness alone can begin to shift how you relate to yourself. And that relational shift can have influence on your stress response. I will add that for me, mindfulness practices have helped me be able to direct my hyperfocus more intentionally. And that's a separate body of research, not this strength study, but we know from broader neuroscientific research that repeatedly noticing distraction and gently bringing your attention back engages attention control networks in the prefrontal cortex, particularly areas involved in directing and sustaining attention. Some studies suggest this practice is associated with functional and even structural changes in those regions over time. So for me, mindfulness practices didn't create hyperfocus. It gave me a steering wheel. But that's not the point here. The main point of this video is this. You already likely have strengths that you've misnamed, minimized, or ignored, and not just ADHD strengths, all kinds of strengths. And that lack of awareness may be quietly costing you quality of life. So here's what I'd like you to notice this week to start to boost your well-being with ADHD. Nothing overwhelming, just curiosity, maybe a journal. First, track moments of ease. Notice, when does something feel surprisingly natural for you? When does time move differently? These moments can give you your first clues about where those strengths might be hiding. Second, notice, what do people come to you for? Are you the problem solver, the listener, the iPhone fixer, the idea generator, the one who sees connections other people miss? These are also areas of strengths. Third, if it feels safe, ask 1 to 3 people who know you well and who can speak honestly and kindly. What do you see me as being good at? Not performance, not productivity. Good at. You don't have to agree with them right away. Just notice what happens in your body when you hear it. Does your system soften? Does it resist? That reaction is information. You may or may not be missing discipline. You may or may not be missing motivation, but you may be missing awareness of your strengths. And sometimes that awareness is the difference between shame and steadiness, between fighting your brain and working with it. That's not small. That's what helps you improve your well-being with ADHD. So this week, just notice. Notice where you're strong. Notice where things come more easily for you than you've given yourself credit for. Notice what you've been calling a flaw that might actually be a strength without scaffolding. And if this kind of conversation resonates with you, if you want more grounded, research-informed conversations about ADHD in women, subscribe to my channel. Maybe like this video. Help other ADHD women get this information. Thank you so much for being here. I hope this gives you just a little bit more room to work with your brain instead of against it. Take good care.